Alright, welcome back to another video. Today I'm doing some more upgrades on my Class C motorhome. In my case, this is based off of a 2004 Ford chassis. So if you have, around a 99 to 2006-ish, 7, 8, in that range, this should be pretty much identical. Also, a lot of Class A motorhomes, you may have a factory radio similar to this. So my plan today is I'm going to be upgrading from this factory. It's called an RV radio. It's made by Magnedyne, and it's got a CD player and a radio, and it can also monitor the weather band. By today's standard, it's not really that exciting. Kind of a neat upgrade I thought would be to install this aftermarket DVD navigation system. And it's going to do a couple different things for me. Number one, this has built-in Garmin navigation on the Kenwoods, so that's exciting. I actually didn't pay as much as you would think for this. I bought this used, like new, on eBay. It was just missing a few things that I was able to pick up, like the GPS antenna and the microphone. I was able to pick those up for under $20 for both. Besides that, it looks like it's in perfect condition. So what I'm going to be doing with this, I'm going to be installing it in the place of the factory radio, and it will give me, obviously, navigation on the road. This has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, if you'd rather use your phone's navigation and other media features, play your music, Pandora, all that type of stuff. Also, this has a built-in DVD player, and I'll be doing the bypass on it, so the passenger in the front can watch DVDs while the vehicle's in motion, and it has plenty of inputs and outputs for video as well. So that will be the DVD player that we will use. And I will send the information back up here to the 32-inch flat screen TV, so those in the back of the vehicle can watch TV while we're going down the road. Likewise, this is a smart TV. It has Netflix and YouTube and all that type of stuff built into it. So I'll be sending the audio from this television back down to the stereo system. So you can play the TV audio. It comes over the front speakers of the RV. And also, there are speakers, they're considered the rear speakers for the factory stereo. They're mounted there and there. So when you're in the back here and we're watching TV, that will be used for audio. So from the factory with Winnebago, they have a switch down here. It says radio power, engine or house. And what that does is when you're driving down the road, you would have that switched to engine, which means it's getting power for the radio, basically like a normal car, just when the ignition is on. When you switch it to house, it pulls the power from the back batteries back here, which also charge when you go down the road. So you really could just leave it in house all the time. Not that big of a deal. But we're going to maintain that functionality with this new stereo when we hook it up. And I'll show you how to do that. Alright, so as always, all the parts that I use will be listed in the description in case you want to copy what I'm doing. The first thing is you'll need a set of Ford radio removal tools, depending on what stereo, if you have an aftermarket one like this or the Ford stereo. I've already removed it. These are pretty simple. You stick them in the holes, you pull this way, and you pull this way while pulling on the radio. It releases these spring clips on the side, and the factory radio pulls out like this. Okay? In our case, there was this harness plugged into the back of the radio, and it's got your standard colors. If you've ever done a stereo system for an RV or for any kind of vehicle, you understand the color code. And this interface here plugged into it's called the Ford World interface. It was used on many Ford vehicles for many years. Right here, this is the adapter that they have that we will not be using, but that they used for the system. The only reason I will not be using these wires, why I purchased another aftermarket adapter, is because the Winnebago setup here does not have an illumination wire, because this radio that was factory in here, the illumination never changed when you turn on the headlights. So we will need that for our Kenwood, so it's dim while we're driving down the road at night with the lights on. So I will not be reusing this. What I will be doing is cutting off these wires here and here, and I'll show you how I wire them in. All right, so these are the audio cables, like I already mentioned. This is the TV sound output that goes to the stereo up here. This is your video and audio output that goes to the back of the car. They run up, and I ran them up the headliner, and I'll show you where they come out. Up here, they run up through here, and then it comes out under here and runs in a channel along here, and then comes out over here, and they come out right here. The key is just wanted it to look pretty neat and clean, that way they don't stand out and they get to where they need to be. First thing I need to do is, just like any aftermarket stereo system, you need to make your wiring connections. The color codes all match, so all the colors coming out of the Kenwood, you have to match to the colors on the aftermarket harness here. I will be twisting the wires together and then soldering them and then taping them. You can use quick connects or butt splices, whatever you want. I like to do it the soldered way, then I never ever ever have to worry about it again. All right, one hint when you're wiring up a stereo like this, they do sell these things called micro bypass, and you need a different one whether you have a Pioneer or Kenwood or whatever, but they're really simple to connect. There's just 3 wires. The black's a ground wire, the green wire goes to the parking brake switch on the Kenwood harness, and then the blue wire is the amp turn-on wire, which would be right here, your amp connector wire. And basically what that does is it keeps normally you would have to have the emergency brake on to enter navigation instructions or to watch a DVD on the screen up here. Obviously if you're driving, you never should be watching a DVD, but I don't need Kenwood to tell me that. You know, we do have a passenger that sits right here that's allowed to do whatever they want, so they can enter instructions on the or enter information into the navigation system. They can watch a DVD if they want to. So that's why we're going to install that. Like I said, very easy, cheap, works real well. Also, this would be the time to hook up a backup camera if you wanted to do that, maybe for your system. My RV already came with this aftermarket system here, which is really nice. So I'm not going to be integrating a camera into the head unit. That way I can always be watching it up there no matter what's going on in the head unit. But the head unit, the Kenwood one that I'm installing, actually supports a front dash camera and a rear view camera. You can use any camera for the front, but you can only view it. If you use the Kenwood specific camera, it actually records the video and has some other neat advanced features like collision warning alerts and stuff like that. So kind of a neat thing you can add, you know, if you want to spend about $200 more for the Kenwood specific camera. Okay, so I've got everything soldered, kind of taped up here, except my power wires, which is your yellow wire is your constant battery power and your red wire is your ignition switch power. Okay, so now I need to make this connection to the factory RV wiring. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some wire cutters here and going to cut this right here first. So this connection here I just cut, and these wires originally went into this harness here, so that means we need to connect them to the exact same harness here, and then we'll cut off these wires and connect them to here. Alright, so here's what our finished harness looks like. That's ready to plug into the vehicle, that's ready to plug into the stereo. Now is probably a good time to just plug it in and make sure we actually get it to turn on. But real quick before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and mount the GPS antenna. So since it's a navigation system, you have to put this GPS antenna somewhere. There's a really good spot on the Ford vans like this right up here in the dash, there's this little panel that just pops right out, and you can see that can be fished through to here. With a Class C, obviously we have the overhang, which tends to block GPS satellites. There's nothing you can really do about that. It will just take maybe a little bit longer to get a satellite fixed, but it still will get one. You could mount it on top of the dash right here. I'm going to see how it works mounted back under here. There is a plastic vent right here. If I use some double-sided tape and just stick it right to the top of the vent. Plastic between the GPS antenna and the sky will not block a GPS signal. The only thing that will block it is metal. So it's not going to hurt to have this panel over it. Some people think you have to put it on the outside of the car or out here on the dash. Not true. The only thing we have to worry about is the cab over in our situation, but there's not much we can really do about that. So what you want to do is just take a little bit of double-sided stick tape and clean that area off, and then we're going to stick it to there and run our wire back out here. We also have a microphone that we need to contend with. So if you want to use any of the Bluetooth features, like for hands-free calling, you need to run a microphone. A lot of people would run it up the pillar, maybe have it up here. That's a good spot. I'm probably going to run it right here. You can just pull this dashboard loose just by pulling it out. And it'd be easy I'm gonna fish the wire and have the microphone sitting right here. The only other thing that we'll need to connect is I want an external USB port. So I purchased this here. You can see we have to create a 1-inch hole, and this will thread into the hole. And basically all it is a USB extension cable. And then we'll plug this into the USB cable that sticks out of the back of the unit. That way we can plug our phone in up here, so we can have Android Auto or Apple CarPlay or whatnot. So I figured this might be a good spot right here, just to drill a little circle. You might be able to do it over here, but for the driver, being able to reach it right here is pretty good. It's next to the radio. There is right here under the vent, there's a little push pin about right here, so it might just have to go over here a little bit. You just gotta make sure there's room behind it, because it's gonna stick out a little bit behind it, about 1.5 inches, 2 inches. So we'll use a 1-inch hole saw to drill that out here in just a minute. All right, so we have to modify the dash for the radio kit that we're using. You have a couple different options. Metro makes a kit that basically this opening in the forts isn't a true doubled in, so you have to do something to take up the space on the sides, and then we have to take off this top lip here and this little bottom lip here. So what I'm going to be doing is using a Dremel tool, and I'm going to try to just cut that right off of there on the top and the bottom. And it helps if you pull the dashboard away and work from behind. It works a lot better. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And remember, you want to leave the lips on the side, the little tangs that stick out. Just take the top and the bottom off. All right, so like I said, there's the Metro kit. There's also this other one. It's like a Scotch, I believe is the brand name. There'll be a link to it below. This is what I'm going to use. It's not perfect with the Kenwood. It works better with the Pioneer. There's this little lip here. I haven't pushed it all the way in yet, but with the top and bottom remove, you can see it will fit. I just kind of get an idea what it looks like. But now we're going to go ahead and start mounting the GPS antenna, the microphone. We're going to get everything. All right, so I figure the best place to put the hole is about right here, because behind the dash there's a little void back there. So I'm going to drill a hole right here. Remember, it's a 1-inch diameter hole. Alright, so you get that in there, it'll look like this. Then we'll slide this on from behind. It just threads onto the back of that. Just tighten it down. All right, so now we got our USB cable, our GPS antenna, our microphone, which I placed right there, like I said I was going to. So now we're ready to make all our connections. So first thing, plug this into the vehicle harness right here. And then plug your antenna. Don't forget your radio antenna, which is down here. Get everything plugged in, and I would not slide the radio all the way in yet, because once you snap it in, the only way to get it out is to take the dash off and undo the clips. So we'll make sure everything works. All right, get everything plugged in. Now we actually see if it works. That's a good sign. By the way, I made that custom splash screen for this radio. There'll be a link in the description below to another video on how I did that. Alright, so you'll go through your initial setup, language display, whether you have a camera or not. Don't have any of this stuff. Off. Finish. Alright, let's see if we have a stereo.
Important work in our communities. So let's come together and support each other.
That's good. I hear sound, so that's a good sign.
For Can't Cancel Pride. Share your pride pics with us using hashtag
have
Can't Cancel Pride.
GPS, so that's good. Now this unit does not come with a remote control. You can order an optional remote, which I have, which lets you have a lot more control over the DVD player and such. So just something to keep in mind. You see there's a menu, just like any DVD. All right, so testing out, got the movie RV on. So that works just the way it's supposed to.
No me, thank you. That's lovely.
Now I just need to make sure that I'm getting audio from the TV down to here. All right, so I've got YouTube playing on here. I've switched it over to the auxiliary input, and the sound is coming out of the speakers.
No, I'm sorry, Marjorie.
Just set the TV to variable output, then I'm able to control the volume back here with this remote, which is the optional Kenwood remote, like I explained. So everything appears to be working like we want it to, which is good. So now I'm ready to go ahead and button up the front here, get the dashboard set back in place, push the stereo in. Actually, I guess I can go ahead and try the Android Auto real quick just to make sure it works before I button it in, and then we'll be ready to be done. So the first thing we'll do is go through the pairing process. So I'm pairing. The two together. I'll ask to allow your phone book. Android Auto started. So my phone's giving me permissions for Android Auto. Alright, so now you see the sign appears here. Similar setup for the iPhone. So it automatically started playing. Alright, so Android Auto is working, as you can see. So I'm not going to go through every feature of the radio because it just depends on what stereo you install. Like I said, I highly recommend the Kenwood just because of the navigation alone. But hopefully this video was helpful for you if you're looking to upgrade the stereo in your RV. So all I have to do now is just push this straight back in here and it'll click into place. If you have any questions, comments, leave them below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe for more, and as always, I'll have links in the description to everything I used in the video. Till next time, we'll see you later.